Welcome to Haunted Grove, a horrific podcast. Haunted Grove is a horror media review podcast with no set schedule, no censorship, and no idea how to summon the skeletal insectoid alien after years of secret society attempts. Your horrific hosts for this podcast are Colin, Cameron, and Adam. And today we're going to be presenting our spoiler-filled review of The Watcher in the Woods, starring Betty Davis and Lynn-Holly Johnson.
Timely podcast about this film, seeing as it was back in 1980 when it was released, and it's 2022. So, it just makes sense. It comes around again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's why we've got to warn people that it's a spoiler-filled review, because, hey, spoilers are coming.
Yeah, most people weren't alive in the 80s that watched the YouTubes. So
right.
So who knows?
I don't know if that's our audience, though.
No, for sure not.
I don't see some hip TikToker watching us.
It's either case, right? So it's either like the boomers will never turn us on, and the TikTokers are they think we're old boomers. So we're just in the middle.
Fair, I guess.
Stuck in the middle with you. All right, so the log line of The Watcher in the Woods is when a family moves to a country home, the young girls experience strange happenings that have a link to an occult event years past. This is produced by Ron Miller. It is directed by John Hugh and Vincent McEvedy, and it stars Betty Davis, Carol Baker, David McCallum, Lynn-Holly Johnson, Kyle Richards, Ian Brennan, Richard Pascoe, Francis Kuka, Benedict Taylor, Eleanor Sommerfeld, Georgina Hale, and Catherine Levy. I say all that because that is the typecast of everyone on screen. You have random people in the background and stuff, but that is the cast. And this film, I think I have to sort of set this up. This came out in the 80s and no one liked it. And it just sort of disappeared through different re-edits. And then it was re-released in the early 2000s as, sort of DVD with the original alternate endings. Well, the original endings that were actually filmed for this. And it sort of became a cult classic, just one of those where weirdos like us, find it and watch it. I happen to grow up with this particular film, and so I'm obsessive about it. But as you'll see, I'm the only one.
Hey.
It's liked it. Wasn't blown away, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a strange marriage indeed. Pinewood Studios and Disney. How did Disney get involved with us?
That's the thing. Disney used to do scary stuff.
Yeah, because this was pretty much on the way out for Disney. They were fucking losing everything. So they're just like, fuck it, let's make some essentially young adult content where it's darker, but it's still cable friendly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm ashamed to say that I had never seen this until I came over to your house the other night and watched it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, we'll of course get into it, but I really wish one of the alternate endings would have been the ending. Because that shit blew my fucking mind.
Yeah,
I never even saw it. I rented it and that was it. I never heard of it.
Dude! You gotta. I'm sure you could look it up on YouTube, but you got to look up the alternate endings. The short one is fantastic. The long one, it's definitely an ending.
it was a decision.
It was.
So this went through a initial burst of filming. They released it, actually released it to the public with that long ending and more. There was a whole beginning to this film that ended up being cut out as well because people hated it. They're like, what is this? This isn't Disney 2D animation. This isn't quite a horror film. It has this weird sci-fi twist at the very end. None of it makes any sense. And so they, at one point, said that there was 152 possible endings because the original director and writer couldn't come back to do the rewrites. And so that's why we have so many alternate endings, because they kept testing them until they got rid of the alien altogether, which is probably the version you saw, right, Colin?
It was an interdimensional being.
Right, but did you see it?
No, I just went through the wee girl.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an actual alien.
Yeah.
And it was a Disney ending where everyone turned up and smiled at the end, and got the early fairy flowery music. You know, it was a
Right.
bit.
No, it was like even in the very opening scene, before the title even came up in the film release, there was the Watcher. There's this little girl in the woods playing with her little doll or something, and the Watcher actually blew up the kid's doll to set the tone that this is a dark, scary film, instead of having like the creepy music and the camera work sort of stealing from Evil Dead. You know, it's just like doing its best to be ooky and scary. But this, Miller recruited John Hughes as a director to this film after seeing The Legend of Hell House. So this was supposed to be, from the beginning, a very scary story. I mean, it's based on the 1976 novel by Florence Engel Randall, which I've never read, but now that I know that, I have to.
That's going to end up in the radar.
Yeah. And the original script was too dark for Disney. So they had, you have to go back and rewrite it so that it's not so crazy and scary, which makes me want to read the book even more. Because
This
came out in 80, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this was actually before Evil Dead. Sorry, just gonna be that guy.
Oh,
What's that out?
Cameron,
Evil Dead.
remember we went through the Hammer Horror House series? Do you remember we went through the whole series of Hammer House of Horrors? This was this could have been an episode, an extended one.
Yeah, absolutely. If they would have cut like 30 minutes off of this, like all the really goofy stares and stuff that weren't necessary, yeah, this could have absolutely been in that.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Is this a miniseries?
Yeah, it was a TV series done by Hammer Productions, and basically it was shown after 9 o'clock. It was on basically cable TV, and you got tits and bum and
Oh, cool.
It was great.
and-
It's on Prime too if you ever want to check it out.
Oh, really?
it's, well, there's some stinkers now. We'll give it that. There's some stinkers.
There's some that are terrible.
That's inevitable, though.
Yeah, but genuinely, it was that was the vibes I was getting. But then there was like Disney stuff getting thrown in. I'm like going,
Yeah.
what?
Like, I don't get it. What is happening? Yeah, so, I mean, the premise is really, really basic and simple. A tragedy happened, it was like a Ring Around the Rosie's secret society kid game that just happened at this.
Just be what it's a cult.
Yeah.
It's not a
It wasn't Ring Around the Rosies.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it was. I mean, that's how they described it in the film. Ring Around the Rosies, it was.
Yeah, they said it, but it wasn't the actual nursery
Right, they
rhyme
weren't like
or the ritual.
dancing or anything like that, no. It was
Weird
just standing in a triangle around a person.
of friendship.
Yeah. They were just like mates. That was it. They were just fun friends. That was it. So, but it happened at a specific moment in time, at a specific event that ended up switching the original girl, Karen, with this other extra dimensional being, and who became trapped here. So Karen's trapped in the other dimension. This being is trapped here. This is why I was saying I liked Archive 81, because it was reminding me of this film. So that may explain why I was so frantic about that series.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
But that's the joy of art. If you get emotionally attached to something, your experience is different from someone else's. That's what I've been banging on about since we started this podcast. There's no right or wrong experience. If something resonates with you and gives you some sort of inspiration or motivation in your life, it's not bad.
That's too
No,
open-handed and even.
You might be the only person.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
That's too rational, though. We have to be edge lords, right?
No, sorry. There's enough edgelords out there. There's enough idiots just fighting for the sake of fighting. I'm tired. I'm an old man now. I'm fucking done with that shit. Just
Yeah.
if I need to argue, I'm not a nice person anyway, and anyone that's encountered that knows it. So no time. Just
I think you're good people.
enjoy what you enjoy.
For what it's
Jesus
worth.
Christ, people. Fucking
Right.
No, it's true.
Get a grip.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Betty Davis is in this, and I really like the role she's playing. But there is a time in the pre-production when she actually was going to play the daughter and the mother, and she was desperately wanting to play her own daughter. So like, what you find out at the very end of this film is that the daughter didn't age, and so for Betty Davis to play Betty White playing her would have been dope.
That would have
But she just comes in making dirty adult jokes. Like, hell yes, that makes it better. No, but Betty Davis, they actually did screen tests and tried to do makeup and everything. And at the very end of it, she's like, that doesn't work at all. Fuck this. Let's just get an actress. Because even she.
Is that why
could
she's
see-
got a sour face on her the whole movie?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the point.
Because it didn't
She's
work.
in despair, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just her face, though.
Yeah,
yeah,
she's got
God,
a
that was,
very
like,
distinct
proper.
face.
That
No.
many years of cigarettes, drugs, and film. What else are you gonna look like? I mean,
Right.
her hair is just like, I give up. Like I'm just a helmet now. I'm like
Plastic surgery obviously hadn't reached that degree in the
real.
80s. God's sake, it was the
yeah,
should have.
she had better days. We'll say that.
Well, it's so fun watching movies like this because it's before the Michael Bay era of correcting teeth.
Mhm.
And man,
Yeah.
those were some yellow fucking chompers.
Yeah. But I like that though. I there's
Yeah, no,
nothing
I
that takes
agree.
me out of anything more than Tamora fuck, I forgot his last name. From Book of Boba Fett. Tamora
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the New Zealand guy.
yeah, I can't remember his last name. But anyway, Morrison or something like that. I don't know.
That
He
sounds
has
right.
the whitest goddamn teeth in the world. And so every time he opens his mouth, which is basically every scene he's in, talking, I'm taken out of it. Like Boba Fett just spent years or however many time in stomach acid. He would not have pristine chompers. Like that's dumb. Carrie Fisher didn't have him. Harrison Ford didn't have him. No one had pristine chompers. So I don't know why they insist on getting Da Vinci veneers on everyone and bleaching everything so it's super white, and they do it with your eyes, they do it with your teeth. I hate it. It's
But
the
everyone's
worst.
plastic.
Yeah.
That's just today. That's why it's hard to get into movies. That's why we've spent so long just panning every movie that's come out, because it's now everyone is just like out of a mold.
Yeah.
They're
That'd be
all
perfect.
size 0. No, nothing complex or anything you could say about them. No curves. And when we look at old movies, you see people have lumps and bumps, and that's what made them unique.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, because they were real.
Yeah,
you can actually
relatable.
relate.
For sure.
Now you can't.
Yeah, and if you actually look at modern day actors and you want to look like them, there's something wrong with you. Like they're so fake. And it's like just men alone. Every guy who goes to any sort of Marvel or Star Wars film, and you can just extrapolate that to any film, they have to be bodybuilders now. Like that's just the thing you have to look like. Everyone's ripped. Everyone's massive. Like no, there's normal human beings that weren't like that for all of human history until comic books. And then it's like, no, everyone looks like it.
Ricky Gervais, when he did the Golden Globes monologue, have we got an award for most ripped junkie? That's okay, I know who'll win that. Like, best line ever.
It was great. But that's the reality, which is why it's funny, because I hate it. So this film is a nice trip back in time to see the Hollywood that was. And this is supposed to be an American film, but it's all British actors, as Disney loved to do with all of their live action stuff back in the day. And it's all obviously a Britain manor. Like it's all England 100%.
Well, it was Pinewood Studios.
Was
It was
The
filmed
home?
in Pinewood Studios.
that was a fake home?
No, it was a real home, but it was filmed Pinewood Studios. That's where all the
Right.
basically the production took place. So it was shot in England.
Yeah. I mean, it's a UK production for sure. But it's just weird that they called it out as an American film when there's like nothing American about it except for 2 actresses. Like,
Yeah, because the bloke wasn't American.
no, I don't know.
No.
The guy
No,
played
he
the
was
father.
British,
I don't know what. I was having trouble with his accent. I was like,
Yeah, it kind of kept flipping around.
it's like pick one and stay with it.
Yeah. And it's also weird, like these older films, the 70s was a madhouse for filmmaking. You could literally do almost anything you wanted. Directors had full control of everything. The studios never got involved. And so they just said, here's the story that you want to make it. And there may be, after the production's done, edits and stuff in order to make it a little more commercially viable. But this was a time when, Scorsese could do anything. And it was just shocking that he got away with the shit that he got away with. I mean, people were dying. I was watching the Shudder series Cursed, and they were talking about the
Oh, I saw that
Twilight
pop up
movie.
Yeah, fucking.
making, which is
yeah.
brutal.
That shit, man. I was not expecting them to actually show it.
I know it. I
That-
jumped back when I saw it.
That blew my fucking mind. It's like, I mean, obviously, that's like, you think cursed films, you think fucking Maximum Overdrive and you think Twilight Zone the movie. But
To
yeah,
see
you don't
it.
think they're going to show people dying.
Yeah. It was like a Faces of Death thing, except I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Oh, my gosh. So, but, that was the era. And so that's why a film like this had to go through so many rewrites and so many edits, because when the director has full carte blanche and the script is all, penned out, and you realize that's actually not that good, the studio has to step in. And now it's gotten to an insane, obscene realm of studio fingers in the pot. But, back in this time, there was a little bit more freedom and stuff. And the story
Tarantino actually talked about that. I don't know if you've seen one of his recent interviews.
Who?
Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
He talked about the eras of Hollywood, and you can actually see a pattern.
Yeah.
So obviously the 60s was really mainstream, like kind of what we're going through now. The 70s kind of exploded, then the 80s reined it all back in. Then we saw in the 90s sort of a bit more of explosion in different movies. Now in the 20s we're reining back in again, and I think we're due for another change. Because there's now starting to get pushback, because that's people, the screw them not too tightly. Creativity dies basically, and
for sure.
then audiences just walk away from movies, and then we need to make money again, and then everyone has been chomping at the bit just goes crazy. There's no even flow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have your mainstream movies, have your quirky ones, but it seems to be it's either everything's all mad or everything's like locked down in mainstream, and it's I don't know, it's stupid.
It's like
you think
there are certain studios that are known for sort of being, like A24, for example. They're known for giving the avant-garde an opportunity. And they really sort of stretch the boundaries of what you can do in genre films. And it's mostly horror, but it's not always horror that they dabble in. And I like that. And it seems like there's this, for those of us who are genre fiends, there is definitely a cry out for the, films to have an opportunity to just be them, tell their story. It doesn't have to please everyone. Maybe it doesn't please anyone, but let the vision that, inspired the project live, so that we can actually just see what it was supposed to have been in the first place. I respect that.
How many times have you watched the movie and you haven't gotten it first time, and you've let it sink in there, and then you go back and rewatch, and then it clicks?
Yeah, not for
a long time. That's allowed to happen too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually how I watch movies. It's like, hey, there's pictures and colors, and then it's over, and I'm like, what did I just watch? I should probably consider it next time.
Think about that.
I still haven't worked out where was it Kevin or Keith came from in this movie, the boyfriend.
It was Karen Atwood's son. What do you mean?
Random guy that was hanging out.
Yeah, he just appeared out of nowhere.
No, they were over at his place because they're
he wasn't in
neighbors
that.
or something. And
They're like
No,
picking
but
up.
they're not going to see the bikes first. No,
That was after. Yeah, I think they were picking up like some sort of like produce or something, because there was that one tiny scene of them loading a car trunk, and then she mentions Karen, like, because it's written in backwards as
Yeah,
narrative.
but there's no relationship.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
How did they go from like lovers almost?
I mean,
He just popped out of
being a
nowhere.
Did you see
teenager
his
is
hair?
exactly like that.
There's a lot of time jumping in this movie.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of
No, I totally believe that shit. Like, I'm not that old. I remember what it was like to be like, damn, you're hot. I think I love you.
Yeah.
All within 5 seconds of meeting somebody.
yeah.
You're amazing. Look at your fluffy hair. That's totally it. Yeah, I never really thought too deep about that, because it was really just a springboard scene to show that the youngest daughter was being possessed, and they teased it through the dream sequences, sort of crying out when she's sleeping. But
she was the better actor out of the two.
She's great. She's done a lot.
Yeah.
The older one was a bit screechy.
That was
Yeah.
that was Jana's comment. She's like, why is she yelling all the time? she's yelling. Like, it'd be
Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you know the Tim Burton Batman movie, the first one?
Yeah.
Ian Bissinger's character who just screamed the whole way through it.
Yeah.
That's what that was reminding me of. It was like, you could talk normally, Like, she's standing right in front of your face. We gotta help him out. I was like, dude, just there, you know what I mean? Take it down a notch.
Now I gotta watch that again, because I have fond memories of that too. Like, I'm obsessive about the original Batman film. It was just
That's
so
just
good. It was, and it was like this huge cultural shift in what superhero films were supposed to be. Because before that, you had, you know, the stupid TV shows, which were nothing.
Oh God, that was.
But like the Superman film that came out was huge, but it wasn't dark at all.
Friends, Adam.
What's that?
I don't know if we can still be friends. Calling the
Oh,
Adam West television series stupid. Pshaw.
Here it comes. Fight, fight, fight.
Nerd fight.
How dare you have an opinion different from mine? That I'm the same way. I don't care. I get it. I feel you. But okay, so
yeah, completely different.
This is, you know, it's just a totally different tone. What I love about this is that, you know, we're taken slowly through this story that, you know, to your point, Colin, can jump around from time to time. But ultimately, it's set on these scenes that are, as far as kids go, they're kind of scary. You know, you're going on this horseback ride. It's supposed to be this loving moment. You know, you have to drag your sister along with you. And it ends up in, you know, this terror ride that ends in a freaking old chapel with open coffins and shit. And this creepy, you know, old guy that I actually... And
he was cool.
He was, well, first of all, he was amazing, but he was presented as this scary guy who even his friends are assholes too. So I feel really sorry for his character. Like, I really
he got shit on pretty bad.
Yeah. That's the other part about
this.
That's all I want in life. A little shack in the woods to hang out with all the woodland creatures. Like, that seems like a great existence.
It's like the brown wizard in Lord of the Rings, right?
Radagast.
Radagast, yeah. That's
my ultimate goal in life. I am going to become Radagast. I don't know how I'm going to ascend to the level of an angel or whatever, but I'm going to figure that shit out.
Okay. I think that's a worthy goal, to be honest. Because watching...
I do get pooped on by my birds on a regular basis, so I'm halfway there.
You got your foot out the door, man. You're on your way. There is nothing better than being that old man surrounded by nature and not having to deal with other humanity. Like, that is a fantasy for real. Seems like the older I get, the more that is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid being like, I need to go to the city and be rock and roll, you know?
Yep.
And then as the older I get, I'm like, I need to go back to the country. Like the real country.
That's the point I'm at. 10 years ago, it's like, man, I really should be living in downtown Ogden. Now it's like, man, I really should write the nation to find out how much it's going to cost to get a couple acres on the res.
Yeah. You just get dumb, I think, with people's crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just wears you down after a while, and you're just...
Yeah,
but yeah, he is living the dream.
Is there a point for you guys that you can sort of like say, this is where I was, this is what I was going through, when you're like, I don't like humanity anymore? Like before point, I could tolerate him, but now, no, I have nothing to do with him.
That was my early 20s.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I was like the whole, rah, punk rocker, gonna save the world, one person at a time. And then you realize, nah, people are shit. Fuck this. I'm gonna worry about myself.
Yeah, I went through that stage of trying to change the world, and fix things. And I've got past that now. It's like, it's not fixable, so I'm like, noping out.
Yeah.
I get worse year by year. Honestly, I'm just like, I can't be bothered.
I think that's just the natural progression. The more exposure we have to humanity, the more we clearly are a problem. Like, we are the problem. We do it to ourselves too. That's the worst part. Okay, sorry, I don't want to rant on that.
No, but that's why we need little islands like this, because this is what kind of stops us.
Exactly. This is what keeps you around in the world. It's like, you know what? Okay, maybe not everybody completely sucks all the time. At least stuff like this happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about maybe your most and least favorite bits. Colin, what is your most favorite part of this film that you watched?
The scene where what's the wee girl's name? She goes into Beth's house and see with the clock.
Yeah,
so
Ellie.
She shows her the clock with the chime.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then she just completely, that's when she gets fully taken over by the entity. And first of all communicates, because I hate the ghosts of retards thing, you know, and it's put across the ghost story initially.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking Spike, stop doing cryptic clues. No wonder nobody can understand you, because you're being a weirdo. Fucking just tell what you need. And then that moment where actually comes to the wee girl, and she's brilliant. Like, she plays this role wonderfully, and then just gets taken over. She's staring at the clock, and then she's must do it now, and everyone starts freaking out. It's like, great, love that. You know, that sort of brought things together, and it happened early enough. There wasn't just last 5 minutes, because this felt like it kind of, as usual, tried to tie everything up in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
But at least we had that scene beforehand, which broke it up, so you knew where we were heading.
Yeah, I like the fact that you have to like gather all the people back together to try to recreate the ritual where she disappeared in the first place, and you got this other person doing the stand-in. And first of all, you know, clearly I like rituals. I mean, I just think it's fun, it's pop and circumstance, it's just part of who and what we are. And so this is an interesting sort of child spin on a you know, like this formal evil occult ritual. And I like that in this sort of universe, even the children's rituals have power, you know? Accidental occurrences aside, there was still something there that you know, caused the connection to be made in the first place. And that's just kind of, you know, fun for, you know, the magically minded among us. You know, we love science, and we're realists. We don't make shit up. You know, pseudoscience is pseudoscience, but I still love the fantasy of it. So,
you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? You embrace it and open yourself up, because it's cathartic, if nothing else.
Yeah, so I think that's my favorite part, is that just the ritual aspect of it, the fact that it terrified them and it scarred them. You know, there was actual repercussions.
Yeah.
And that's something that Cameron and I are always bitching about in films, is there's never any repercussions. There's huge
100%.
repercussions in this. Cameron, what was your favorite part about this?
So I'm not going to echo you guys.
Okay.
That's a close second. Because you made me watch the alternate endings, the original, and I'm just using the context.
Like I held you down. You will watch this.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I don't want anymore. He's like, yes, you do. You want this. Fucking, you know, young boy Alex style, eyes open.
Whiskey dropper.
Fucking so in the context of the DVD, the first alternate ending, it was like 5 minutes or whatever. That's where we actually see the corporeal manifestation of this time traveler, or this interdimensional traveler. And fuck, that was awesome. That was basically like, you know, the cousin of the ghost from Poltergeist, but also hung out in the Dark Crystal era. Like, that was just so badass to see, and I totally understand why they didn't add it. I do feel like the now theatrical ending is much more apt, and it works better with the flow of the movie. But fuck, that was awesome.
God, I feel cheated now.
I feel like you're cheated too.
You should have given me a heads up. There's other endings to go and look for them.
I mean, there's just so many. I'm gonna have to figure out a way of copying that and sending it to you. It's totally worth it. Like, it's great. It's weird. It's not right. Beautiful. It doesn't flow, but it's great.
Not at all. It definitely would not have made sense for the movie. Like, having watched the movie and then watching that, it wouldn't have fit as well. And I understand why they took it out. But man, that was dope as hell.
It reminded me of the third act of In the Mouth of Madness, when they finally break through and you see the Cthulhu beasts. Like, they don't call it Cthulhu, but they, you know, those otherworld beasts and demons coming toward the protagonist. Like, that is what this creature reminded me of. It's like the step kid version of those beasts, because it's not perfect. You know, it is a finished like product. You know, it is an alien, a marionette creature, but it's got just a touch of the fucking Lovecraft stuff, which is just brilliant. It's so good.
One thing about this movie, you can see Disney trying to sparkle their sprinkly stuff over it, and it just getting blown away. Like, go, you do not belong here.
Yeah.
You're only here to provide dollars. Don't try and impose on this movie.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that struggle. Disney's been trying to creep in and make it sort of sweet, and this movie's like, nah, we're not playing that game.
Nah, we're good.
Get the fuck.
I mean, there's some great scary parts in this, I mean, not, first of all, that whole motorcycle scene of it crashing, it's not a terrifying scene, but there's like a little bit of impact. Like, oh shit, if you would have stayed there, if she didn't call you, so clearly this demon wants you, or this entity wants you alive, it's trying to save you. And then there's this constant struggle between the two of like, you were speaking in your sleep. And she's like, no, I wasn't. You were. It's like, oh shit.
That was really well. That's what I said. That wee girl nailed it. Really well done.
In every scene that she was in, I thought she was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Including Halloween. Because she's great. The little girl in Halloween. Least favorite. Let's talk about that. Colin, what do you got?
Even though we'll say the idea of the rituals, this actual ritual at the end of the version I watched was horrendous.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's
when they're doing it as adults.
Yeah.
When they're doing it as adults, the circle of friendship of 3, and they all hate each other. They've all like grown apart and they're like shitting on each other. So now all of a sudden they've come together as friendship. The actual words and the play out of their ritual, and the fact that she was meant to be blindfolded and she had her eyes open and screeching the whole way through it, and then Keith or Kevin jumps in, tries to pull them apart. Right. That actual scene, the way it played out, just did my head in.
In the alien cuts, that boy who tries to break it up, the boyfriend, he actually gets shot.
Yeah, he gets shot with eye lasers. It's fucking great.
I could go with that.
Fucked up.
I wanted to reach into the screen and grab him by the scruff and go, "Wind your neck in. You know the bad things happening." You know what I mean? And he went from tell me your problems being really reasonable to acting like an absolute idiot.
Well, he didn't want her to be taken. I mean,
yeah, he hadn't had a.
He wasn't believing her.
He hadn't gotten
he
it
went
in
from
yet.
tell me your problems, and he acted like a complete tit, and then he just goes like complete drama queen. So the actual playing out of that ritual was horrible.
Okay.
As adults, it just I don't know. I just found it really grating.
Yeah. There's something about being a kid and doing. It's like the Bloody Mary thing you do in the school bathroom. Yeah, but
when they played it out as kids, it was fine.
Right.
You saw them doing it again as adults and using the same. You know what I mean? It was really gnarly.
Well, it's especially because it played out the same way, where the lady was the one that's like, fuck this, I'm scared, and takes off. And it's like, you fucked up it last time. What the shit?
Yeah, we get that it's scary. You're trying to save someone's life. So maybe be a big girl today.
Right.
Yeah, big girl pants. I mean, it is pretty terrifying. You're playing with extra dimensional beings, like there's real problems. And I didn't necessarily dislike that there was so much discord between them, because they literally lost their friend, and no one could explain it. They're just like, no, something fucked up happened. Let's not talk about it anymore. And then suddenly this cheery little American girl comes in and stirs all your shit up, and he's like, leave us alone. We've processed this.
He was talking to them, going, "This is the way to get me back home and bring the other one." You know what I mean? It was explained to them. They're older. They've been through it. So the initial shock and awe. Do you know what I mean? They've been through it, so there shouldn't be that. Just the way I played out. Like I said, I just found it really jarring. If they had if maybe the entity didn't want to go,
right,
and they were and the entity was actually trying to stop them, it makes sense. But the way they did that and getting on when they knew exactly what was going to come of it, just didn't play out well.
Yeah. What was your least favorite, Cameron?
The way the little girl was treated. Everybody was just shitting on her the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't have snacks. You're gonna get fat. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Why do you talk to a little girl that way?
Whole film. Yeah.
That shit was.
Get a sandwich before she gets them.
Yeah, God, that was
the realtor went.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, man. Everybody was
Even
just
the fucking stranger. No one stood up for her. Yeah, she got shit on the whole time, and she was the only one that's like special. She's able to commune, and
she wasn't a brat. She was the most inoffensive, charming girl in the whole thing. Because the older sister was more annoying because of her.
Yeah, and arguably she was one of the best actors in the film too.
Even compared to the adult actors.
Sad.
Like she brought the actual when she was channeling the entity. She was doing it in her own voice too, so it wasn't voice effects. You know what I mean? She was doing it in her own voice. She channeled it, and she actually brought you into the movie. So, maybe it was jealousy.
Maybe
the other actors were ad-libbing through the script and tried to slip stuff in.
They're like, we're just gonna keep talking about her fucking stomach. All right, calm down. It's a kid. She'll grow out of it. Jeez. Maybe not give her a fucking like a what is that? Make her a fucking bulimic just because she wants a goddamn sandwich. Fuck. Yeah, that was crazy. That really bugged me. I grew up with this, and so this is just like one of those childhood movies that are just precious to you for whatever reason. I can't think of something that really bugs me because okay, my least favorite part is how everyone treated the guy who lived in the fucking church that was taking care of the animals. His best friends were shitting on him or totally ignoring him. He was like, ooh, the ooky scary guy, but he was the most caring and supportive person who was in love with Karen, even though he knew he never had a shot with her, and everyone just shits on him. Like, I feel like that guy, as a kid, I was bullied and picked on I'm talking like, a little kid. It's shitty feeling. And he's grown up and it's still happening. Like that leaves complexes, man. That's fucks with you. So anyway.
That's probably why he channels his empathy, the animals and helping them. And he talked about traps being a horrible thing. I mean, there was the deeper conversation there.
Yep.
And the character came across, Tom Cully, wasn't it? Came across a simple Yorkshireman type, but there's actually a depth to his character.
For sure. That's the thing about this, is that you get these little glimpses of what could be a really magnificent film, but for whatever reason, it just never got there. Like if they would have explored the dynamic between the adults and just explored the tension of what it means to lose a daughter, just with Bette Davis's character. I mean, we got glimpses of it, but we didn't really delve into the psychology that is real and painful, that can leave scars. There was enough time to do it. What's that?
There was enough time to do it in the movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because there's a lot of surface scenes and jump scares, like Cameron said.
Yeah.
So there was enough time that had us spend it in a bit of character development, but apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, for a kid when I watched it, it was enough. As an adult watching it, I want more. And the thing is like, I love the world that it's set in. It's creepy. Yeah. It's wonderful. That forest, I want to go climb through it. Like, it's amazing looking. There's this one scene where she's walking up this, what looks like a forest bike park. It's just like perfect for riding, your old BMX bike as a kid and just having fun on these little hills and everything in this forest area. That would have been amazing. Like, just explore, crawl around. I don't know. Everything about this film, I think visually, it really worked for me. The tone really worked for me. Not all the actors were great, and the chemistry the actors had wasn't always great.
That was a bit of a letdown. That's what kind of drew me back from the movie. It was kind of wooden.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a victim of the time, if we demand more now, or maybe it just wasn't written that well. The script.
Not really, because we're getting less now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I don't think it's that. We're literally having wooden planks getting moved about on screen. You know what I mean? That's what we see these days.
Yeah. This was not a well-received film, not theatrically and not now even. It has a 6.1 out of 10, which is pretty high for what the film is on IMDb. In Rotten Tomatoes, it has 50% rotten and 57% audience score. So
that's actually a decent score. That's not
for something like this. 57? I honestly would have expected worse.
Really? Oh, well, maybe I'm definitely biased, so there's no hiding that. I was shocked. I was like, wow, people really hate this film.
Maybe the experience watching it the first time as a kid might have something to do with it.
For sure. I think that definitely has a lot to do with it. And I watched it a lot as a kid. I just always wanted to do it. Yeah, I was a fantasy nerd. I would watch Excalibur and Clash of the Titans, and I'd just go obsessively over Willow, even though I know that's not really your cup of tea.
No.
But like the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit cartoons, and like I loved that stuff growing up. And so you give me and I loved dark and evil things. You give me any sort of occult horror fantasy story, I'm in. you know. And even when I became an adult and I rewatched this film when it was re-released, and it had more of a sci-fi bent than a ghost story that I, you know, got as a kid, I was okay with that too, because I love sci-fi horror. So I don't know. I think this is great.
It was like halfway through, they switched it from supernatural to sci-fi.
Yeah.
It was...
I don't know. It was like the ending for me that changed it. You know, because even up until the very end, it could have easily been pure just ghost stuff.
Well, even with the possession.
Yeah. Especially with the possession.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you started to see more towards the, you know, it was something else.
Yeah.
Like the halfway point, you know, it could, you know, I mean, at the very start, it was a ghost story. That's the way it was presented. But halfway through, that's where it became ambiguous and started going the other direction. You could go either way.
Yep.
So I think it was just the pacing. I think the pacing's what kind of messes this movie up.
That I do think is from the day. Like,
yeah,
pacing
definitely.
of films back then was much different than it is now. And you know, just what
well, and this was like the way that it was like. Well, I mean, just straight up like the pacing, it was very akin to like other Disney movies of the time.
Yep.
Because I mean, it very much feels like a traditional old school Disney made for TV movie.
Yeah. And there was actually a TV remake of this with Angelica Houston, who is brilliant, which I've never seen.
So, yeah, I didn't even know that existed until I was looking at the show notes.
Yeah.
There you go.
I need to watch it because I think she's great. And I can't think of a film I didn't like her in. I just think she's great. So she's a person that I can't tell if she's good looking or not. Angelica Houston?
Oh, well, obvious. I mean, fucking Addams Family.
But even then, I'm like, I don't know. Are you, like, do you guys think Angelica Houston is an attractive woman?
Yes.
I can't
Addams
do
Family,
it.
man. I mean, that's all I need.
Like, I grew up watching, like, I Love Lucy and, like, the black and white Addams Family, the original. And so that's what I think of. Angelica Houston has just a hint of masculinity in her features that makes it a little tough for me to... I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That has nothing to do with this. But whatever. It immediately went to, like, my childhood. Would I have sex with her or not? You know? Like, that's how I see things. Like, I look at you guys, I'm like, yeah, I definitely do them. I look at Angelica Houston, I'm like,
duh. When the well gets dry.
Oh, man. All right, so what else can we talk about this film to let people know whether or not they should look at it? Should we give our reviews?
Oh, you should definitely look at it. Definitely give it a go.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, you're not wasting your time watching it. And I watched it twice over the weekend, so...
Oh, well, yeah.
And even watching it the second time, I wasn't, you know... Like, I'll it's not something I'll go back to on a regular basis, but you're not going to waste your time watching it.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it is quite jarring. The pacing's quite jarring. You can kind of see it hasn't made its decision. If I had went full into horror, because the elements were like right up to the edge, if I had stepped over that and went into horror, I think you'd have something completely different.
For sure.
But I think the whole Disney, you know, they're afraid that, you know, I mean, they won't step out of their formula, but they're trying a new genre, so you can kind of see that bumping. You know, you can literally see the executives having those meetings as this movie's went through.
Yeah, I do wish this would be remade as a straight horror film. I think it would be interesting.
Oh, it could be an easy R.
Oh yeah, definitely you could.
Yeah, because there are like genuinely scary moments when the mom is trying to escape the area, and the watcher doesn't want them to go, so it busts the bridge up in front of them. You know, like that's a scary moment to be in. That's terrifying. You don't know if this entity is trying to hurt you or have you help it, or what it's really there for. That moment when she's starting to drown and Bette Davis's character comes in and she's like pushing her down with a stick and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're trying to kill me. Like they don't know. And not knowing is what's so wonderful about this, because you don't know who this watcher is, what it wants until, you know, sort of the third act.
That was the thing about the mother's character. She obviously didn't understand her children, because from all intents and purposes, the children seem to be well adjusted and reasonable.
Yeah.
So if they're saying they're not having a good vibe here or something coming through, why is she acting like an idiot? You know what I mean? Not going, right, I understand something's happening here. And there's no backplay about the children being a drama, right? A drama. In fact, the father's more reasonable. He understands, but she acts like an absolute lunatic.
I do think that's a trait of Disney films, though, right? Like, it's like the kids are like the heroes. They figure things out, and the parents, the adults, are just big stupid. Oh, I don't understand what's happening. That's always sort of the trope, like a Parent Trap.
But this isn't your generic Disney movie. That's the thing.
For sure. Yeah.
But so they should have either just stepped away from it and let someone else make it, or let them have the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But they've stuck, to me, you can see the Disney finger stuck in this, and that's what ruins a movie. This doesn't belong in the Disney sphere.
Yeah.
They've interfered in something that they don't belong in.
You can see that. Why? Because they never returned to it. They stopped doing scary stuff. What were you going to say, Cameron?
So I bought the play between the mother and the kids because, I mean, you got to figure this is like the dawn of the Latchkey Kid era. And I mean, that's
interesting
how a lot of kids and parents interactions were. Like, yeah, she understands that her kids are smart enough and well-adjusted enough to take care of themselves, but she also is so just removed from any sort of real relationship with them that even though she understands that they're not fucking stupid and crazy, that she can't rationalize why they would be acting like that. So it's just like, oh, well, it's just kids being kids. They're just being stupid.
Gosh, I think we're getting to a point that's very interesting to me because the way that children were raised dramatically changed in the 70s with the Dr. Spock on How to Raise Children book came out. Before that, kids were on their own. Parents, they just did their work, they shit them out, and then they let the kids sort of just do their thing. The 70s came around, and it was all about emotion and being present when part of your child's life and encouraging them and, protecting them and shielding them. That was a huge change from parenting from before, from the 60s. It does create a different dynamic from parents who were born in the area pre-Dr. Spock, when you didn't play with your kids. That's what other kids were for, or that's what the world was for your kids to explore. Like, there wasn't, you just screamed for your kid at night to come in. There wasn't any clock that the kids were looking at. It was the sun. That was their clock. When it gets dark, come back inside. Yeah, when the streetlights come on.
The streetlight just came on. I got 5 minutes to get home, or I'm getting my.
That was still in Britain in the 80s, so I don't know when the 70s thing came about.
Oh, really?
It was like the 90s over here. Maybe we better check of these guys. Take the meth off them. The the glue bags.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's a different scene for sure than what I grew up as. And so I wonder if that's the difference, that maybe we're seeing it through a different lens than the writers did and how they perceive the interaction between adults and children. Like, kids are irrational. They're filled with fantastical ideas. So we can't really use them as trusting narrators. They're not reliable narrators by any means. They're kids. So nowadays, if a kid did something like that, you'd be like, all right, who touched you? Where did they, you'd right. really be paying attention. Like, what the fuck is going on? You have a problem? Let's hear it. I want to solve it for you. I'm going to helicopter around you until you're safe and protected and, butter warm or whatever. I don't know. That's a weird fucking butter warm. So it is different. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I don't know.
I think it's just Disney trying to, impose their template over a genre that they don't belong in. And it's just like, even with the actors, maybe they're getting conflicting directions, or you need to know what was happening on set, just.
It'd be interesting to watch the original theatrical cut, because it was rewritten and re-edited after it was released. And so
that could be part of it too.
Yeah, it gets chopped up, and
so many reshoots and scenes changed, then it is going to jar, and it's probably really obvious in definitely the version I watched, because it bumps. She goes from one scene literally wearing a dress to on a bike wearing a sweater and jeans, just like no context in between, just boom. It was just that kind of thing. So maybe it was the reshoots and remakes that's made this the way it is, but there's definitely. You can see something behind the scenes. It's caused this movie to be the way it is, and it's not the story.
Yeah.
The story's actually the idea, the concept of the story is solid.
Mhm.
It's a bit, you know, I mean, it's not overly complicated. It's a basic story. You know, problem entity, ritual went wrong, called something else in, got transposed. This entity's trying to get home, even though the first half of the movie it's acting the other way, which is weird.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this what you want me to do when that Davis is calling out in the woods? So has there been interaction between them before? You know what I mean? It's it's all like mishmash together. So it's probably the reshoots and edits that's caused this movie to be the way it is.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah.
If that were the case. Well, let's do our reviews, our ratings. What do you have for this, Colin?
I give it a 3, and
3 knives in the back.
not because I hate it, but just it's the flow. You can actually see the problems on screen as you're watching it, and it takes me out of it. And I think it's so close to being brilliant. I think that's the frustrating part.
Right.
Mhm.
This you can see that there's been interference, and it's taken away the actual. This could have been an absolute classic. It could have been a groundbreaker, game changer, whatever you want to call it. You know, but it was just held short, and it's probably some stupid executive has caused this.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Cameron?
So I gave it 3 as well. It's a fun watch. I mean, if you got like, I forget what the hell it is, but like the Disney Club membership or whatever, I think it's like $6-7 on Blu-ray. I'll probably end up getting it.
It's on Blu-ray?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a DVD. I might have to get this on Blu-ray.
But yeah, it's a great little time capsule of an era that Disney wants everybody to forget that happened. Which is a shame. Like, honestly,
therefore, it's our duty to remind everybody.
Yeah. Well, like, one of my all-time favorite movies is it's a Disney movie that people don't realize is a Disney movie. But Ernest Scared Stupid, that was their last theatrical Ernest movie. Up until then, they were pumping those fuckers out constantly, just not really putting their name on it too much.
Yeah.
But I love that era. Like, 80s and early 90s Disney can be fun as shit.
Yeah, I agree. I give this a 5 because I'm obsessed with it. That's it.
We never picked that up at all.
I've just been beating it to this since I was a kid. Everything from as little Adam, I was about the age of the youngest daughter, so I had a crush on her, and then I had a crush on her sister, and I had a crush on the mom. Pretty much anyone with boobs I had a crush on. So it was like this whole.
I mean,
I was like,
that's what happens.
Yeah. You give boobs to that alien insectoid creature, I'm in. I'm DTF. Like, let's get it in. So I would definitely, just personally, I would highly recommend give it a chance because it's something different, and that is not always a bad thing. And it's fun. You know, we sat around and it was almost like an impromptu Mystery Science Theater. You know, we were just sort of riffing on the film when we were watching it. A little bit to my chagrin because I wanted to watch it because I'm a freak about it.
Yeah. First time before we take a break, Adam's like, guys, quit talking. We're watching a movie. It's like, Jesus Christ. We're enjoying it.
I was the Nazi.
We're all paying attention. Don't worry.
No, my wife was like having a conversation. I was like, what are you doing? Like, we're watching a goddamn great show. They've never seen it before, and you're having a conversation. Yeah,
it was pretty fun.
I was that guy. Anyway, anything else?
Well, you'll get to be that guy once. There's that thing. It's like, why don't you understand?
It's usually me that's that guy, so it's refreshing to have someone else be that guy.
That's me with David Lynch's Dune.
Oh, really? I love that film, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
You shut your mouth when that's on. That's it. And I don't care if I've seen it 500 times. Shut your mouth. We're watching this. Or get out.
Did you like the new one?
I haven't seen it yet. It's got Jason Momoa in it.
It's great. Oh, come on. He's great in it.
A whole lot of meh.
What? We're starting a sci-fi podcast.
And it's got
We're gonna get
Whedon's girl from, what do you call her? Zendaya or whatever the hell you call her?
Yeah, Zendaya.
Oh, God, I can't stand her.
Oh, wow. All right, never mind. Sorry, brought it up. Jerk faces.
Honestly, don't watch it. It's not good.
It is too good. It's great. It's epic.
You know what it was? It was a much more boring Prometheus.
Oh God.
That's what it reminded me of.
I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Does not compute.
Yeah,
So
it's
we'll have
I wanted to
original
like
David
it.
Lynch.
It's fucking
Fantastic.
sci-fi.
And the only thing that limited him was the effects. You know what I mean?
Technology, yeah.
If you've read the books, if you've seen the TV show with James McAvoy, yeah,
Wait, what? Seen the TV show with
TV
James
show?
McAvoy?
yeah. So they've redone June and then Children of June and
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yeah, Messiah. They do 3 of the books, but
Yeah.
if you're, you know what I mean, if you're a June fan, if it's going to come out, it looked really flat. It's like it just looks generic. I just couldn't
Wow.
get myself excited.
Okay. I really dug it. I thought it was great. I loved the original. I would watch that with my dad when I was a kid, and we would just be quiet watching it and sort of obsessed with it. You know, it's visually, it's a masterpiece. It's just really great. But you knew that there was a technological limit that they couldn't go beyond.
Yeah, that was the
This new film goes busts that barrier wide open, and the way that they approach the Bene Gesserits, the way that they, am I saying that right? The way they do everything. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And Momoa's not in it very much. He has a small handful of scenes, and they're all meaningful. You know, like he sacrifices himself for the fucking prince. I mean, it's great. Visually, it looks so good. All right, fuck you both.
I feel like they could have compressed like an hour off of that, and I probably would have liked a lot more.
That's why I like it, because we're getting a whole second half to actually like flesh out because ultimately, okay, this is a totally different conversation.
Fuck it, we're already here. We're having it.
Yeah, this is what this is all about. Here, I do a weekly interview, and I tell every one of my guests, yes, there are show notes, but yeah, once we get going, that's it.
We're gonna take a left turn
every week.
So just
never. I look at the notes, go, yeah, no, I'm meant to say stuff, but this is more fun. Let's go.
Well, we are reaching the limit that we had planned for this, so let's wind this down. Anything else you guys wanted to cover about The Watcher in the Woods for this?
Just give it a go, folks.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't get upset, right? You know what I mean? Like I said, we've picked it apart, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
But please watch it. It's actually interesting. You know, it's
just fun and different. That's really all. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning into Haunted Grove, a Horrorific Podcast. The only way that you can find out when the next Haunted Grove episode is creeping up in the shadows waiting to jump out at you is by subscribing to this YouTube channel. Clicking that damnable bell as well. Don't forget to like the video while you're at it.
And if you want to survive between now and the next episode, don't perform rituals during this eclipse.
For real. It's a problem.
I mean, you think that would just be common sense.
It is more fun.
Sure,
It's scary.